Last night around 5:20 in the afternoon, members of our agency observed a vehicle that they believed may have been involved in a previous shooting. There were 3 occupants observed in the vehicle, and when our police personnel went out to try and identify these males, the driver of the vehicle realized that the police were approaching the vehicle. They then put the car in drive and crashed into one of our cruisers that was directly in front of the cruiser. At that time, he then put the car in reverse and slammed into another vehicle that was behind the suspect's car, at which time our officers, a couple of them were out on foot, a couple of them were still in the vehicles. The driver then recklessly put the car back in drive on a third attempt to get away, and at which time he struck another cruiser while one of our officers was attempting to get out of that car. At that time, our officer was pinned between the driver's side door of his cruiser and the frame of the vehicle. He did sustain injuries. The vehicle then created enough distance by smashing into our police cruisers and eventually was able to flee on one of the nearby sidewalks on the side of the road. Luckily, one of our officers was quick enough and was able to deploy our stop sticks, set of stop sticks, and this flattened 3 of the vehicle's tires. The vehicle was still able to flee. However, it was located a short time later a couple side streets over, and the 3 occupants were seen running on foot. So that's when we engaged in a foot pursuit at that point. From that point on, one of our officers observed one of the suspects actually drop an item into a nearby trash container. That would subsequently turn out to be a loaded firearm. All 3 suspects that fled were apprehended. So we located the one gun that was dropped into a dumpster that was observed by the officers. We were fortunate enough to have one of our canine officers who's actually trained in firearms detection working on the shift. His canine was able to do a search of the area that the suspects fled in, and we were able to locate one additional firearm as well as a high-capacity magazine. Both of them were stuffed in underneath some bushes in the nearby area. So all things considered, we ended up getting 2 handguns off of the street. Unfortunately, 5 of our officers were injured during this incident, one of them being the officer who was pinned between his driver's side door and the car. We also had one of our officers that was out on foot. His actual foot was run over by the suspect vehicle. He sustained injuries to his foot. All of the other officers who were injured happened to be in the vehicles that were slammed by the suspect vehicle. So at the end of the night, we had 5 officers transported to the hospital. They were all treated for their injuries and released. Certainly nothing is life-threatening, and it certainly could have been a lot worse, so we feel very fortunate that none of our officers are going to be laid up for an extended period of time or have significant injuries, but they're all feeling it today. They're pretty banged up. They're recuperating at home.
When this incident first happened and you all here, 5 of your colleagues are injured in some way, how did that hit the department?
Well, we take that obviously very serious. I mean, we are a family here at the Meriden Police Department. Obviously, we go out and we do a dangerous job on a day-to-day basis. And certainly our main concern is always for our police personnel. So we have the most professional men and women that I can think of in the state of Connecticut. Our agency is exceptional. I'm very proud to work here, and I'm extremely proud of the men and women that go out and put the uniform on every day here. So anytime any of our personnel is injured, we take that extremely serious. We take that personally. Our officers go out and do the best job they can every day to protect the community, and they put their lives on the line every day. So it really hits home when something like this happens, especially when it affects so many officers in one incident.
This vehicle is being recognized as one that may have been part of a shooting in the city. What shooting are we talking about?
At this time, I can't comment on which shooting that would be. That's being worked on additionally by our detective division right now, so I'm not free to comment on that particular incident at the moment. If and when additional information breaks that we can tie that to a particular incident, I make that available. Right now, I can't discuss that.
And Mr. Camacho, do you believe he might have been involved in that shooting you're talking about?
Well, again, the vehicle was a suspected vehicle from a previous shooting. I can't elaborate as to whether or not we had suspects in the shooting. It was just that particular vehicle. I'm not even privy to the fact right now if it's been determined at this point in time if that turned out to be the vehicle. Certainly the circumstances that unfolded last night led to the recovery of 2 firearms. So at the end of the day, we're always fortunate when we can get guns off of the street, certainly. But again, right now, I think it's a little early and premature to comment on that. I'm leaving that up to our detective division to determine if they can tie that into additional instances.
Are the names of the officers that were injured going to be released?
No, not at this time, no. It's personnel ranging from our patrol to some of our detectives, so it's a combination of both. And again, right now, we're not going to release their names.
You had a chance to extensively interview Camacho, and did he offer any reason as to why he decided to play pinball?
Yeah, I didn't have, obviously I don't interview the suspects. I leave that to our detectives. I know they did have an opportunity to speak with everybody last night, but with regards to the content of those interviews, I'm not free to speak of that, and I'm not even privy to that right now. So it's nothing that I'm even aware of. I certainly know we talked with them, and we'll see what develops from that.
And what kind of danger did this pose to the community? I mean, it's around 5:30, it's daylight out, kids could have feasibly been out. How did this affect the community?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, something like this has a real big impact on the community. Total reckless disregard on the part of the driver, not only for police personnel, but thank God nobody was on a sidewalk when they decided to try to flee from our officers. Children in the area, I mean, it's an inner city street, so there's a lot of kids playing up and down those roads on a regular basis. Pedestrians always have to be thought of, and thank goodness no other cars were struck as a result of this. But yeah, anytime something like this occurs, we take it very serious because, you know, somebody that's an innocent bystander could be hurt at any moment's notice. So thank God that was not the case here, and we were able to locate that vehicle and get these 3 people off of the streets.
Is there any information about, you know, that you have 2 armed people inside this car? Maybe they stopped a crime that was about to be in progress? Has that been...
Again, you know, this is an active investigation, so it's ongoing. Additional details, if they do develop and it turns out to be something like that, I would certainly put out a follow-up release. But right now, I'm not privy to any of that right now. Okay. Yeah, folks, we're going to cut short here. We'd also like to get in for the arraignment, so we're going to send our personnel in right now. So thanks all for coming, and we appreciate your presence here.
Thank you.
All right.